really, really hard, and they execute the system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
He's pretty big trust.
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir. Right on cue. Hey, right on cue. Hey, let me.
You're back on the Jumbo Set podcast. It is Wednesday, June 5th. My name is Jake Louque, and we are brought to you, as always, by the Black-Eyed Susan Spice Company, who you can now catch on season 24 of Hot Ones on the First We Feast YouTube page. They have the coveted number 7 spot, One Before the Bomb, so tune in every week to watch the rich and famous suffer. And if you want to get in on the action yourself, head on over to blackeyedspices.com to get some dry rub and hot sauces for all your Orioles watching, summertime grilling, smoking, and partying needs. That's blackeyedspices.com. Use the code EXIT52 at checkout for 10% off. Also available off the rack at participating Baltimore and DC area Ace Hardware locations. Ace Hardware getting a lot of play on the X app lately. I don't know if you've been seeing that. OTAs are important spend.
I have not seen any Ace Hardware propaganda at all.
Yeah, it's been, I think somebody like made some comment about how it's like should be irrelevant because it's like not as good as like Lowe's and Home Depot. And then I just saw just a massive humanity coming to its defense, talking about great customer service, great locations. It's kind of, you know, it's not too big for its britches. So love to see that. Love some good Ace Hardware content on the X app. How's everything else going?
Going well. I do love me some Ace Hardware. Got one right down the street that I go to somewhat occasionally. Golf game feels good. Big trip coming up in a couple weeks. Putting has gone ice cold, but my swing feels good. My chipping feels like it's the best it's ever been, which I practiced today a little bit. So on that front, good. Just got a approach wedge. Going to throw my Sim 2 out, aka try to sell it or give it to someone because I have not enjoyed that. So I updated the bag a little bit. Game's feeling good. Summer is upon us. Still spring technically, but the days are getting longer. The golf's getting better, and the Orioles are fun to watch. The Ravens are quiet, so all quiet on the Eastern Front.
I got to get the old Jim Rome soundbite where he would like act like he was interviewing Tiger because Tiger would never say anything, and he would have these sound bites like, "Yeah, my golf swing feels good. The golf course looks good. I like my chances."
Good old Jimmy Rome.
We're getting a golf update from you every episode. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. We should really just make a full series out of this. Maybe breaking 90, I think is what we should call it.
People love breaking 90, breaking 100, breaking 50 with Bryson. I think about it all the time. It's easy content. People love it. Golf content is killing right now on Instagram, on YouTube, on everything. So we should definitely get some cameras going. A couple people have said we should do an Exit 52 tournament. Maybe we'll look into that for later this summer, somewhere local.
I think I threw that out in the chat a couple weeks ago, and I just got absolutely zero burn on that. So shout out to you for really helping a brother out, helping a player out on that.
Yeah, we'll get it. Let us know. DM us, tweet at us if you would want to participate in a.
Yeah, if you remember it, like Baltimore Country Club or something, hit us up and we'll make it happen.
That'd be sweet too. We'll definitely utilize you for your country club assets. So yeah. Summer, golf, beach, all those fun things. Fun time of the year.
You been to the beach yet?
Yeah, I went to Ocean City the week before Memorial Day.
Oh,
I was in Florida a couple months ago.
That was a bachelor party, right?
Yeah, just a little one.
Okay.
Played some courses down the ocean. Broke my driver for the third time.
Very nice. Yeah, I'll probably hit you up about that wedge that you're trying to offload as well. Might need to make some changes too. I broke the 6-iron, so I have to go to second swing and replace that, as I learned that Golf Galaxy not selling individual irons. So shout out to them for that. Here to talk some Ravens. Like you said, it's been pretty quiet. A couple things on the old news ticker here. A few more executive shifts going on here in the front office. We've had a few of those in recent weeks. It continues with Vince Newsom, senior personnel executive, retires after working his way up through the Ravens ranks. He had been with the team since 1996. He's kind of been in the background for all these years. You hear his name thrown around. I think he kind of gets conflated with Ozzie Newsome a little bit. I think just, the same last name and everything. And you'd think there is some kind of connection there. I don't believe there is, though, if you actually look into it. So just another guy who's been kind of behind the scenes a little bit all these years. And I think, like we said with the David Blackburn thing, it's just when these types of guys step out of their roles and you recognize their name, that's not a thing that you can really say for a lot of different fan bases. So I think Ravens fans probably should and do know that name. And there's another one. I wouldn't call it brain drain necessarily because this is a retirement, but this is just another guy leaving out one end, and he's going to send the elevator back down to maybe some young, hungry personnel guys as we are being hijacked here by looks like a special guest live from his car, probably potentially leaving the castle here. And I mean, wow, what an absolute delight! What a treat for us to welcome.
It is.
Also, Banks.
It's a treat. I'm struggling with the little phone holder thing.
You look handsome.
Oh, thank you.
Are you murdered out right now?
Huh?
Are you murdered out? You rocking the all black to the OTAs out at the castle?
Tank? Oh my!
Jeez Louise.
I am in all black for the death of the Lamar Jackson doesn't go to OTA haters.
And I'm sure that was well worth it for all the sweat you're no doubt dealing with right now. Hot one.
Oh my God.
The area.
Dude, I got sweat in areas you don't even realize there are areas.
Wow, you're just now leaving. You've really got the.
I actually went back to work and I left work now.
Okay. Heard there was some activity in terms of a certain Polynesian Notre Dame alumni catching a pass out there, huh?
Yeah, it was a wild play. Brent Urban did what he does, and he almost got the next play too, and it just fell right into Stanley's lap, and he took off with no hesitation. Like, this happened during a game. It was a 20 to 25-yard gain. Spin move was hyped up on Twitter too. That was a very real thing, and it looked kind of good. It looked kind of good. Like, we could maybe.
Was it like a post move, spin move, kind of? I feel like when the big man does it, it's kind of like in the post.
It was very fluid. It was not one in which you could see the spin move coming from like 2 or 3 steps ahead. Like, it was like, oh, okay, little phone booth move there.
We saw those from Haloti, and like his one obligatory interception every year that he would get. Sometimes he would hit the little hezzy spin move. So maybe it is just there's something with the big men there when they get the ball.
Is Ronnie Stanley back, Brian?
He may be back. I don't know if pre-ankle surgery Ronnie Stanley could make that same move. I can't say with any level of certainty at all. But I do know that post-ankle surgery, Ronnie Stanley can make that move. So something to think about.
That's huge. Thoughts on the rest of what you saw out there? I saw some good battles going on between the young corners and the young receivers. I saw our guy Nikhil was talking about Tez Walker versus TJ Tampa. Fun little play happened there.
That they had more than one play actually. Tez was very, very impressive. He got TJ at least once, maybe twice, but there was a play later that TJ made the adjustment, made a good pass breakup on. Tez looks fluid, man. He looks good. Like generally speaking, it was just one of those things where it's just great to see the boys out there. A Ravens practice with Lamar under center and the OTAs, you don't get to see it all in one picture and one motion and really enjoy the vibe of it. And I got a piece of that today, and it's just the boys out there just playing ball. Like it's kind of like it's very regimented, and there's not a wasted second in the 2 hours that you get, and there's the air horn and everyone's sprinting from one drill to another, but at the same time, from drill to drill, play to play, guys are just having fun. The guys out there in backwards hats. Marcus Williams literally never shuts the fuck up, like not even the slightest bit. Not even once, like literally never stopped talking.
He honestly has a piercing voice too. He's like, ooh,
high pitch.
Yeah. And he's dogging his own guys too. I saw that the flag came out one time. It was defensive holding. Armor Davis, defensive holding. And he's like, dude, you're wearing white. Like, what are you doing? First play, honestly, that they went 11 on 11, Lamar had a keeper that it was a house call. Like, obviously, the guys in the trenches, are they going at it at the same pace, at the same speed, same intensity as you would expect otherwise? it's always tough to say. But
three, four steps. 3-4 steps. They fire off the ball, but then they're not really trying to tear their
Yeah.
hamstring running around.
There are plays, and this is going to concern some people. Like, there's going to be a natural takes about it or whatever. But there's some plays that are whistled dead that Lamar just continues to run like 20 yards further upfield and just make moves on people and fucks around. And, like, it's going to get people all in the field like, oh, my God, this guy's going to get himself hurt, blah, blah, blah. Like, whatever, man. It's fun to watch. It was a good show for the people that showed up. Yeah, good day. Good day for sure.
What was the grub like out there today?
It was very, very good grub. Nice spread of Carolina pulled pork, like the generic chicken that kind of looks like it might be buffalo chicken, but it's just like roasted chicken, whatever. Mac and cheese, salad. Cookie was phenomenal. Top tier cookie. It was like an M&M sugar cookie. Lot to like out there. So I'd say about 250 PSL owners got to go out there, and I think they've done 4 or so of these dates where I guess they randomly select PSL owners to do it. I was lucky enough to be selected, so it was cool to see. It's cool to see for sure.
Who was the number one person? I'm sure you got to see some of them up and close in person. Who was the number one person that their physique or like size was a realization? I feel like at those events, you always see one person, and you're like, oh boy.
I'm so glad you asked, because that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. Daniel Falele in shorts, his legs are fucking insane. They are not human. Like, you see him next to all these other guys, and they're professional big men. That's their job, is to be large humans. And he is on a completely different level. The size of his thighs and his calves even, like the size of his calves are the size of Ronnie Stanley. You look across the line at the other tackle position, and he dwarfs Ronnie Stanley. And I know that like size isn't necessarily Stanley's strong suit, but it was mind-boggling.
You sound
He's like an average size tackle. He's like an average size tackle.
Sure. Yeah.
You sound like me talking about Jadeveon Clowney when I saw him at FedEx Field last year, wearing the long sleeve. I was like, man, this guy. I mean, holy mackerel! What an Adonis! You know, he's young, he's swinging, and then he goes out and has a career year. Maybe this is all coming full circle, and it is going to be a big Ronnie Stanley year and a big Daniel Falele year.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I wish I had seen him the day he walked in the door, because I don't know how much of his size is like. That's just him being a large human, which of course is the takeaway. But I'd also be curious to know how that body has morphed since the day he walked in the door, because like, you just see it in football pants and you see it on Sundays or preseason games or whatever, but to see it in shorts, in like rugby kind of shorts, because he knows what he's doing wearing the, rugby style shorts. Like, yeah, he's a fucking monster, dude.
So you haven't talked about this publicly, actually, but you've been riding that Mike Florio train all over Lamar Jackson, hating on him for not showing up to OTAs. So to have him out there with you, the one day you get out there, I'm sure that was very special, and it assuaged your concerns about him for this coming year.
Yeah, I was real in my feelings about it. Really upset about that $750K too. So didn't even realize he was out there until like 10 minutes in, because they don't let you pull your phones out or anything while you're out there. And somebody said, oh, that must be Lamar on the far field all the way over there. And I'm like, this guy doesn't even know. He hasn't even been showing. And then sure enough, I peeked down on my phone, scrolled through a little bit. And it's like, oh shit, he actually showed up. So good for him. He looked like he had a blast out there. I would expect that anytime he's out there, that's kind of the vibe. He had the backwards upside down visor, as he always does. It was a very on-brand kind of day. He was slinging the rock. He looked good, looked quick.
Big, strong.
He looked a little leaner, big, strong guy. Just massive guy. So, yeah.
All right.
I like Malik Cunningham too. He actually looked pretty good. Some good ball skills. There was an out that he ran where he had to make an adjustment on the throw, and I thought he did a really good job of that. So
they've been talking about him potentially a little special teams role could be in the works. So yeah, I think the more you can do, that's fun. I like those storylines.
Yeah, and they probably did 15 minutes of individuals to start, and then they jumped right into the new kickoff stuff, and I thought they would be doing it for a decent amount. It was like 2 minutes, and then they moved on to the next thing. So, like, before you could even process, oh yeah, new kickoff, like what's going on here, what's going on there, what are they doing? It was like over, and they were on to the next.
Looks like he's trying to hop back in. He is. Oh, here he is. This is great radio. For everyone listening on the podcast, we apologize, but our guest is driving himself home from work as he just absolutely, and now he's gone again, and who knows what's happening. But yeah, I guess we can probably call that a successful call in from our guy OTAB. Yeah, great thoughts on OTAs. I think we were talking a little Vince Newsom there. Pat Moriarty also not on the way out, but he is on his way into a consulting role. And it sounds like that's, it's maybe been a couple years in the making. He's getting a little bit older, but he has been the preeminent capologist for the Ravens. Eric DeCosta said that he's a cap dynamo and also his best friend. That's another name that you definitely should know if you're a Ravens fan, because he's been in the mix forever. Definitely kind of one of the preeminent cap guys in the NFL. So Pat Moriarty, Spenny, your thoughts moving into consulting?
Yeah, Moriarty renegotiated Marlon Humphrey's contract, Yonda, a couple others. So he's done negotiations within contracts as well. But to me, it's you use the word brain drain, and this is, like you said, this isn't quite that, but it's the kind of last reflection of Ozzie Newsom's regime, I would say, of his actual guys that were in the 90s, 2000s, not coming up necessarily as much, but guys that have been in roles for a long time, a little bit more to a degree. So there are a lot of slots for younger, long-term Ravens, or maybe outside, but a lot of Ravens front office staff to rise up right now. So you're curious to see who Eric DeCosta and Sashi Brown and Steve Bisciotti ultimately raise up through the front office and come take those roles. So there's some open spots, and it feels like we're quietly getting to the next era of the front office itself, as some of these guys are ready to retire. I mean, they put their work in, they put in their 20, 30 years with the Ravens, and they're 20, 30 years into the NFL and 30, 40, 50 years into football and what have you. So Pat Moriarty's been doing it for a long, long, long time. Still have, the Dick Cass has been on the reshaping as well. Got to figure that he's going to be, he retired in 2022. Is that what it was?
Sashi actually stepped in for him, I think, as team president.
But he's still as president, but I think Dick Cass still has a role, right?
It's interesting. Like, these guys, like, they'll take a consulting role, quote unquote. I don't know if it's as involved as like Ozzie is, who's still in the building every day. Like, you never can tell with these football guys. It's like a true made man situation. You can kind of come and go as you please. It's almost like capologist emeritus is what you can maybe expect from Pat Moriarty. Yeah,
Dick Cass is listed on the Ravens website as president emeritus currently, but says he retired in 2022. So yeah, that made guys a good way to put it. So Sashi Brown, Eric DeCosta, there's also Nick Mateo, a younger guy on the come up. I think he's in his 4th season in football administration, and he's, I would believe, the guy that is going to come up behind Moriarty.
His name has been thrown around in a couple of interviews around the league too. So who knows if he would hang on to him, because like you said, a rising kind of younger name.
He was someone they relied on during the COVID-19 protocols to help them stay compliant and do what they needed to do. He negotiated Kyle Fuller, Morgan Moses, and Marcus Williams contracts. He was the VP of football admin. So I would think Nick Mateo is primed to take one of those roles, and is kind of maybe the Moriarty to Eric DeCosta as Moriarty was to Newsom. Yeah,
there you go. All right, well, that's enough housekeeping in the front office there. More to monitor as we go on. And now we can move into OTAs proper. Already got a little bit of a taste from our guy Banksy there. Did a fantastic job putting us on the ground, talking a little food, talking what he saw out there. First up, we got a couple sound bites to discuss here. First one coming from your best friend, Trenton Simpson, talking about what he's kind of changing going into year 2. A little bit of a shorter clip here.
Man, just ready to roll. Just attacking every day. Make every practice rep like a game rep, just communicating, being on the same page, and just every day just learning something. Like I'm meeting with Coach Mark D every day, watching practice film so he can see how I see the game, and he can teach me, man. Just taking a more professional approach, taking care of my body, it's my time to go. So, I just take every day and it's a blessing to make it count.
So we've both spent some time with him at Jimmy's Seafood. You a little bit more than me, having a chance to host the Q&A with him, and he strikes me as just a locked in. To shout out Davis Clark, he's just a locked in young professional. Seems like he's on his P's and Q's, and I like that a lot because it sounds like he's in meetings every day with his coach and really like trying to put the best foot forward here and step into Patrick Queen's shoes, who had some interesting comments this past week as well about real food.
Yeah, Pat Queen, I don't know. That was like the biggest thing he said was like, "Oh, I'm not a seafood guy." It's like, what are you talking about? You're from Louisiana, and
he would always say like Louisiana seafood better than Baltimore seafood. So I'm with him on that.
That was a whole thing. I feel like where he was like, whatever, like he didn't feel like Baltimore was special, whatever, in terms of food. But I mean, everyone's like, oh, Patrick Queen's having. What is he supposed to say? Like, I love the Ravens still. I love that. No, that he's a fucking Steeler now. So. No, that would be
warm to say all that stuff. And like part of the reaction.
It's good for the rivalry. I want this. I want the juice.
Yeah, part of the reaction is what makes it fun. Like I want people to get mad about that. I'm not necessarily going to be like, up in arms, but I do think it's more entertaining. Like he said, it adds more juice to it.
100%. And speaking of Trenton Simpson there, the way he was talking on the podium was the exact same way he was talking to me and you at Jimmy's. He is charismatic. He is he has a quality to his attention. I don't know the right words to use, but charisma again is the word I'm going to point to, but he is very focused and in the moment and it felt like he was locked in at the Jimmy's event. He was like, what do I need to do? I don't know if he had done one of those events with the Ravens before, but his attention wasn't wandering anywhere throughout the event. It was, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to talk to? When do I take pictures? As opposed to like just chilling, sitting there, letting everybody else figure everything out. He said he doesn't smoke, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do any of that stuff. He is locked in, and he's a giant human being. He is very large. He is bigger than I just saw Roquan Smith, who does drink a little bit at Locals Only in Baltimore the other night, drinking a neutral, having a pizza. Said what's up to him. When I'm with people, they're always like, "Oh, are you gonna go talk to him?" I'm like, no, I'm not gonna be like, "Hey, man," while he's out trying to talk to girls and stuff. "Hey, man, I want to come on my podcast." That's
we're
exactly
boys from Exit 52. You ever heard of our show? It's pretty popular. You want to come on?
Yeah, I gave him like a little knuckle, and he was like, he had a pizza in his hand and was like, about it, whatever. But he is larger than Patrick Queen. He is larger than Roquan Smith. He's a big dude, Trenton Simpson, and a freak athlete. And someone that has never sat like that before. He played as a true freshman at Clemson. That's why Dabo Swinney, Hickory Dickory Doc, gets all those 5 stars, because he lets them play as a freshman. He gives them playing time. Brian Brzee, tons of them.
He talked about that today too. He was like, I had never had to sit like that before, like in my life. And it was humbling, but I definitely needed it. Like I needed that humbling. I needed to like slow things down a little bit and adjust to the speed of the game. And Patrick Queen, that is not a luxury that he was afforded at all. And he suffered for it early in his career.
Definitely. So getting to learn from that. And he was a true junior when he came out. So he got to sit, develop. The pace is going to be transitioned in. He's not going to have some learning curve when he starts, finally playing. It was a weird game. He was dynamic against the Steelers there, and I think is going to be a really special blitzer. And I don't know, man. I mean, I obviously love Patrick Queen a lot. I was a big fan of his game and dating back to LSU, but Trenton Simpson is a different body type that has a little bit of a different skill set in some ways, and could be a little bit, I don't know. Patrick Queen turned into an enforcer in ways, but I can see Trenton Simpson really,
I love PQ. Like I think he's a really great guy. He went through a lot, but like, even like in keeping with what we saw this week, like Patrick Queen cannot tune out the noise. Like, and even at his best, like that he was still getting on Twitter, getting in the mix. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if Trenton's like on social media or anything, but you talked about like how he's cut a lot of that nonsense out of his life. Doesn't really seem like it's like even part of it to begin with or ever was. So like, that's another thing that I think is a point to him.
Trenton Simpson, I don't feel like he was a dumb jock. Like we talked about the dumb jocks last year, the dumb jock energy, like Kyle Hamilton, Marlon, who's in his own category, Roquan. But he feels more like just a jock. He's not worried about anything else. He's not, on social media like that, all those kinds of things. So I think he fits in. I think that him and Kyle Hamilton profile similarly in terms of skill set around the line of scrimmage and fit like not a yin and a yang, but a little different archetype of a thicker linebacker body versus a safety, and are going to make a lot of plays around the hashes, outside, blitzing, coming off the edge. There's a lot of interchangeable aspects there. Curious to see what Trenton Simpson can do in man coverage, but getting to play next to Roquan Smith makes life really easy. Getting to watch Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith do it for a year when you're a 5-star that was a good player, it just reminds you of Queen in some ways, but like you said, Queen didn't get to sit. Trenton Simpson, a 3rd-round pick, who told us, he was like, I was pretty sure I was going to go in the 2nd round. And we joked around with him. We were like, oh, well, Justin Madubuike, same deal, ends up going in the 3rd round, was supposed to go in the 2nd round, and signs a $100 million contract because he got to go somewhere where, it was a good defensive organization, develop all those things. He was like, yes, exactly. So all of that hopefully pays off for Trenton Simpson. And I think that he's going to be a fan favorite super quickly. A lot of people don't like Patrick Queen. A lot of people really don't like him now. And I think Trenton Simpson will be an elixir for a lot of folks.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. So yeah, glad to hear from Trenton today. Fun media appearance from him. It's good to hear from the young guys like that. Speaking of media appearances, we had one from a veteran today, which I thought was very interesting. A great media appearance by Nelly Agholor, who is fully embracing this kind of vet thing. He was kind of being a little coy, a little kind of, he was flashing the smile. He was messing around with the reporters a little bit, but had some great stuff to say about Lamar Jackson towards the end of his press conference.
I mean, Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson. He does an amazing job, just kind of going through his progression. He has unreal arm angles, but he also just knows how to see everything the way he needs to see it in the game and, when the defense is giving you something. He does a great job. And Lamar does a great job because those 2 young quarterbacks see a guy just execute and just have command. Lamar has command without it being overly he could just do it. He does it and we understand it. I mean, I got to spend time with him last offseason also. I always say people don't realize how cerebral LeBron Jackson is. The conversations he has with you one-on-one about what he sees and what you may see, even today, I'll be honest, I had an in-cut, basic, and my mannerisms was the reason why I didn't complete the ball because I saw something and he saw something else. And whether we completed it or not just then, I got better when I walked to the sideline and he showed me on the film. He's like, yo, Nelly, the reason why I'm thinking keep going is because I look at this nickel and I see his body language. I said, well, I did take a snapshot of the nickel and I thought he was going to drop, but he said, he ain't going to get there by the time I'm going to zip it. I'm going to zip it 2 yards here. And that was what makes a special quarterback special because you may see something, but when they allow you to see what they see, you now can be consistent with your, mannerisms and your cuts.
So I think we've both been really taken by Nelly. We've really enjoyed his short time here in Baltimore thus far. I thought that press availability was a fun listen today. Like I said, he seems very comfortable in his role as kind of the old head, weirdly enough, in the wide receiver room right now. But he's still got plenty of juice. He's still got plenty of wit and vigor, and that was showing through as well. But I thought that was probably as articulate and well said of a quote about what Lamar Jackson brings from a preparation and practice perspective, and something that I don't think is said enough. And I think he said it very well. And you made the comparison earlier in the week that Lamar sort of idolizes Tom Brady a little bit. This kind of strikes me as him turning into a mentor a little bit and a veteran in that kind of dignified role where he can talk that way to guys where maybe he couldn't back in 2018 or even 2019. So cool to see.
Yeah, I think that at this point, Lamar has graduated from, a cool younger quarterback that was doing crazy stuff. I'm sure those areas of that when he was in 2019, as early as 2019, and trying to get on the same page, things like that. But you just can sense that he knows this is his team and there's no doubt about it, and that he's the driver. And that's quite literally, I think that's what Eric DeCosta or John Harbaugh said. It's like an F1 car and Lamar's the driver. So we wanted his input more into the build of the car this year. So he's the driver. That means he's the one that needs to say those exact kind of things. I need this at this turn. I need my tires to do this. I need that. I need that. I need that. It's his offense. It is not Todd Monken's offense. It is not John Harbaugh's offense. It is Lamar Jackson's offense. And to spend those time with those guys in Florida again, and especially this is what I think the funniest thing is about the whole Mike Florio comments and Twitter, whatever. So he already missed the $750,000 bonus that he's clearly aware of, but then came anyway. He doesn't care about the money. He wanted to come when he could come and when it was good and when it worked. And hey, Kyle Hamilton, Justin Madubuike, Odafe Owe, all those guys not there today. Bateman not there today. So, but Lamar still shows up when he feels like it's a good time to. and then goes and gets those couple reps in, talks to his receivers a little bit, gets on the same page, all those kinds of things. So
he just made the appearance at NASCAR too, down in Charlotte. I'm sure he didn't just do that out of the kindness of his heart, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like money wise, he's doing all kinds of events now. He was in Germany going for the NFL, who knows, easily could offset those things. And it's just trying to quantify someone's money on that scale when you don't have anything close to it is just always hilarious. But anyway, Nelson Agholor communicating that Lamar Jackson is running the show, telling his receivers what he needs to be. And that's what we saw with Joe Flacco as he transitioned to being a veteran and it became his offense. And he had maybe that really good 2014 season, things like that. It's his show. He's been paid. The receivers need to do how he needs it, not how the coach needs it necessarily, not how, the wide receivers coach, all these kinds of things. It's Lamar's show. He's going to tell you. He is going to tell you if then. And again, that's what I spend so much time talking about in the NFL. That exact thing, that if the nickel drops. And Lamar goes, well, in this case, it doesn't matter because I'm going to get it there before he can drop to that spot. So if the nickel drops, doesn't matter. That's something Nelson Agholor can then take in his brain and say, what's the if then? There isn't one. If the nickel's line here, if we get this look, I'm running this route. I need to just get quickly. I can just go quickly. There's no if then. That is the difference between the NFL and lower levels of football. College is that way to a degree, but like high school football, the football that most people played, or Madden or things like that, it is not these plays. It is not making sure you run this. It is more so reactionary and trying to be proactive ahead of the snap and knowing to be on the same page in those regards. So I know some people are like, well, I want Lamar there to do that, and this proves my point of why, blah, blah, blah. They have 6 weeks of this coming up in training camp. So, hey, maybe it gives them an extra – it's like one conversation, one thing, one look, and can it help? Sure. They're going to get tons of reps of it. We can go down the rabbit hole of do OTAs matter, to which I'll simply reply, very much so for younger players and newer players and players in a new system, especially UDFAs and rookies and second-year players and developmental players. So it's cool to, hear those little tidbits and pieces. And it's cool that Lamar misses out on the money and still goes anyway. Like he's not like, oh, fuck OTAs, I don't need to go to that. He just came when he needed to and, got there. It's not like he was avoiding it, or it's a non-story, right? Like,
and it's also like, it's cool for the young guys to get exposure to him and like work with him a little bit, but it's also like when he shows up, it's like, it's the Lamar show. And that's like all the media wants to talk about. And like all that, everyone's kind of, it's like, it's a solar system kind of gravitating around him a little bit when he's there. Like when he's not, it's a little bit more like, all right, we can all just sort of take a breath a little bit and like, we can sort of work on our own stuff a little bit. Not that he prevents them from doing that necessarily at all. I think it's great when he is there, but it can be, it's a nice like resetting of the table. Like, hey, we're still like trying to do our own things here. We don't necessarily need to just only sort of gravitate around him, right? We can work with Josh Johnson a little bit. I can work with Devin Leary, and Devin Leary can maybe try to, work on things on his own end of the spectrum there. Malik Cunningham getting work as a quarterback, getting work as a receiver, a lot of different computations and permutations that I think are there when he's there and there when he's not. And like to your point, I don't think any single one of them is going to sink the ship or save the boat from sinking.
Yeah. And, again, that one example, the one Nelson Agholor clip, the one bit of knowledge, how many passes is Lamar Jackson going to throw from now until the season starts to his guys? 1,500 passes plus from now until then. I mean, they throw 50, 80, 100 times a day during like throwing live balls, maybe 30, 40 a day, 10, 12, 15 times. Like it's a joke. So those extra couple days here and there, missing, not missing, whatever, sure. Argue about it till you're blue in the face. But I, again, just think it's really cool that he missed out on the bonus, but then still went. That's funny to me. And I know there's some people like, that makes me sick to my stomach. If I had $750,000, all that shit, whatever. He's playing. He went after that. That's the funniest thing is that he missed it and then went. Like I love that.
Yeah, the thing about you make a really good point with that. And like the funny thing is, like, I don't think Chris and Mike are going to hop on a PFT live tomorrow and say, hey, you know what? It's really cool that he did that. I think they're just going to move on to the next fucking topic here, and that it's just the machine is just going to keep churning.
I don't even hear Chris's comments on it, and honestly, Chris does crack me up with his stuff, and he really
both of those guys. I like Chris and I like Florio, but like they when they're like when we're the dead of summer and we're really getting close to the dog days here, you gotta like, and we say this every year, you gotta scrape the bottom of the barrel. I think they're getting close because this one's pretty tired.
Yeah, so funny all around. Agholor himself, cool player, and I think he's someone cool that hopefully Bateman's career goes a little bit north of where Agholor's did, and already kind of has with the extension, being able to get a second contract with the team that drafted you. That wasn't Nelson Agholor, but super talented player, little bit of a different player, but explosive, drops the ball a little bit, whatever. Nelson Agholor had a really hard time in, affiliate points and things like that, but just continuing to work, continuing to be a professional, continuing to want to be there. You can tell that he wants to be there, that he loves it. That Nelson Agholor loves to play football. So I think he's a nice veteran to have that's maybe a little bit different from the brightness of Odell Beckham. There's the workman, more kind of average Joe Nelson Agholor, to give another perspective in a different way. And he was there last year, but it feels like the Ravens expressed a lot of faith in Agholor as not just a player, but also a locker room presence and member of the receiver room, veteran statesman, than people really talk about. By letting Odell go, not signing another veteran like that, he's essentially a starter. I mean, maybe he's a starter, maybe some games, not games, plays more 1 week, whatever. But they're counting on him to be a part of this offense, definitely even more than they were last year. Last year, he felt like a bit of an insurance policy. This year, he feels more like a starter. So I think Agholor's a cool player. I think he fits the Ravens mold. I think he's a little bit of a throwback Raven. I think he kind of fits that Mike Wallace kind of archetype there. So cool player. Glad to have him here. Fan of his game, and good. Seems like a really good dude for the Ravens to have. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, that's all we got on soundbites. Anything you want to broach before we get rolling here?
I don't know. Ravens. I feel good about the Ravens. Feel good about
any lingering questions, any burning questions. I've been thinking a lot about this offensive line, and we're not going to get an answer in OTAs, right? But just seeing those guys out there and hearing Brian talk about Falele and Stanley, it gets me thinking a little bit. I'm still not all the way there with them, and we're not going to have that question answered yet. But the closer we get, the more I think about it.
So to me, I think it's going to go like this. I think it's going to go Stanley. It's open at left guard, Linderbaum, Cleveland, and it seems like Falele has the upper hand there. Maybe Josh Jones is the left guard, and
we've heard that Josh Jones getting some work at left guard. So
and what it feels like John Simpson 2.0. But what Cole said is that people need to remember Voorhees is a rookie. He didn't practice last year. Like he wasn't he didn't participate in training camp. He is effectively a rookie.
He's a physical rookie. He's but physically he's a rookie.
Exactly. Technically, physically, mechanically, he is a rookie and someone that is dealing with overcoming an injury still. So I would think that, it feels like they just have, and it's roses, it's spring, it's summer, the flowers, the trees are blooming, everyone's happy. The mid-Atlantic here. They have options, right? Like, is Josh Jones and Voorhees and Saleh and Cleveland and Falele and McCary and Rosengarten, are they all not going to become average level starters? No, I think they have options. I think McCary can get you an average level of play, so you feel solid about right tackle. Not solid, but feel like not panicked. And then guards, great guards matter, average guards don't. Like, John Simpson didn't win or lose games. He was fine. We loved him. He was funny in ways. We talked about that a ton last year, but he wasn't winning or losing games. It's easy to get average level of play out of guards. Guards is, if you want to talk about positional value, that is probably in my mind like the lowest. Like average guard play does not expose you as much as average tackle play. I would rather have a center that's between the guards, that's dealing with the snap of the football and IDing stuff and a little bit more cerebral there. Guards get bigger contracts than running backs. We can have that argument. Sure. Safety, I'm taking safety. Linebacker, I'm taking linebacker. Guards are cool. And, but it's not, your team's not dying via guard. So they have three options at right tackle. If Ronnie Stanley can stay healthy is the permanent question until he's not a Raven anymore. But if he has a nice, healthy offseason and was able to kind of wilt at times last year and then flower again, and ends up being able to finish the year relatively strong.
Took a nice pay cut this year too.
Took a pay cut, wants to be there, he's a part of the organization. I feel like the Ravens organization loves Ronnie Stanley so much more than fans think or realize, and appreciate him fighting through what he did. When you look at Bakhtiari and you look at Taylor Lewan, we've talked about a couple times, two guys that had similarly catastrophic injuries that were at the pinnacle with Stanley at the same position. Both of them are out of football. Ronnie Stanley is taking a pay cut, starting games last year, set to be the starter this year, and hopefully have a better year. So the offensive line is still a question mark in ways. It's just, I feel like it's a Rubik's Cube of where's the right option? What's the right turn at left guard, right tackle? And they have three options at right tackle that are three very different options. The one thing that I think one of the sneakiest things I've seen in all of the Ravens content this entire offseason, I guess it was the post-draft Wired or whatever it was, whatever they did, just post-draft video, was Joe D saying to Harbaugh, he was like, oh, we got your guy. We got Rosengarten. They like dapped up. And he was like, Joe D was like, he's ready to go in the run game. We just got to get his pass block in there. So, Rosengarten able to vary sets, things like that. They got his guy. I don't expect rookie offensive linemen to start week one, especially not high picks. But I don't know. There's options. It's going to be some shuffling. There's probably going to be, TJ Watts of the world are going to win some reps. But I feel like they have enough options and depth to be average. And average is fine when you have Lamar Jackson. You'd love it to be a strength, maybe more so next year. They need to continue pouring resources in. Maybe you do find a really good guard. Maybe one of those guys does turn out to be really good. But if they don't, you're in a transitioning stage for the offensive line. And then looking around the rest of the team, man, I mean, Matabike Jones, Brian talking about Brent Urban, who has such a nice niche role in this team. I feel good about Van Noy, Owe. I feel good about the whole defense, really. TJ Tampa, I mean, not going to play. Going to be a special teamer. And someone that people loved in this draft class. So defensively, you feel good. Lamar Jackson, you feel good. The receivers, likely Andrews, Flowers, Bateman, Agholor, Henry, Ricard, Keaton Mitchell, maybe. It's very good. I think that's a fucking balanced group of skill players. You feel good defensively. You feel good on paper. That's what the offseason is about. On paper, most people feel good, but you feel good about the Ravens right now at this point in time. I feel like they're in a good spot to transition, draft more players again next year. Turnover was heavy this year with a lot of role players and fringe starter guys and journeymen and things like that. It's time to fortify the core. They've got some additions there, and I think this is a big year for, looking at what the Bills went through last year and this year. The Ravens are going through that, but it's such a smaller degree. It's like fraction versus, whole numbers of what the Bills are going through right now. So I think that the Ravens and Eric DaCosta have managed this roster very carefully and cleanly, and there's not dead cap. There's no drama. There's no player getting in trouble. There's no, knock on wood there. Injuries are their whole different thing. Can happen at any time. They injury gods, when they smite you, it's over and there's nothing you can do. But I think they've managed this team, this roster, this personnel very deliberately and carefully, and are in a spot to do nothing but build over the next couple of years. And it feels like they've really talked about so many times, when you read between the lines, the further we get it removed from the Joe Flacco contract, not wanting to feel hamstrung by the quarterback contract. And so they have been very careful in the moves they make, so that I think that's the biggest thing when you have that huge cap hit on the quarterback, is that you just can't miss on a Von Miller like the Bills did. You just can't go have Ray Rice and Eugene Monroe and, all this dead fucking cap when your quarterback's eating up 1 out of 5 of your cap space. So I think they've avoided all of that. If they can continue to do so, they're going to be a really good position, not just this year, but for years to come. And as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy, I will knock on wood for that one. I think they're in a good spot, balanced on both sides of the ball, and the moves that they've made have not been reactionary, quick. And DaCosta talked about it. Earl Thomas was a reactionary move where he had to pull him off the plane to KC and was like, oh shit, what are we going to do? Earl Thomas. I feel like I missed free agency. I have to do something. There's none of that. So I feel good. It's calm. It's very calm. It's good. We're talking about the front office and the moves they're making and guys rising up. Again, that's what makes the Ravens what the Ravens are and have been. The front office and the ownership from Modell to Bisciotti. So I feel like the Ravens are in a good spot.
Yeah, sometimes the best moves are the one you don't make, to your point there. And yeah, they haven't overreached. They haven't really gone too crazy since that Earl Thomas signing, and they've really managed pretty well. They were walking a tight wire there with the Lamar contract thing, and they came out the other side of that, like you said, pretty cleanly. So all things are looking pretty solid, and like I said, I wasn't like super high on their ceiling as Super Bowl champions a couple months ago. I don't know that I still am. That's probably why I framed this whole question around the offensive line, and that's still being my question. But to your point, that's really my only big question remaining. Edge is maybe not as strong as it could be. Corner, they're a little bit young there, but overall, very solid roster, and they got the quarterback they need to win a Super Bowl. So, questions remain to a certain extent. Sure, people still have some about the head coach, whatever. I totally get it. If that's the route you want to go, I can kind of understand it to an extent, but overall, I'm with you. It feels pretty solid. And like you said, that's just how it's going to feel at this time of year. Spring is sprung and all that. Optimism rings eternal, but at least it's better than being a fan base that doesn't have any of that right now. So yep, that's where we're at. I think that's all we got for the show. That's all I've got. If that's all you've got. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to us on YouTube if you enjoy what you're listening to. If you're listening on pod platforms, that is our preferred platform, is the YouTube page, youtube.com/exit52 podcast. Go and check it out. Come and find us, subscribe to the page, like all the videos, leave a comment for us as well. We appreciate all you podcast listeners as well. If you prefer to do it that way, leave us a nice review. I haven't got a ton of great reviews lately. It's not that we haven't got good ones, just that we're not getting many. So if you want to continue to listen on that platform, that's fine. Leave us a nice review, though. We appreciate those. You can find us on social media at Exit52 Podcast across the board. That's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am at Jake Louque. That's LOUQUE. Spencer is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle there. Brian, our beautiful guest, calling it from OTAs at Barstool Banks. Eric at EDITTI22 and Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. Thank you guys, as always, for listening, and we'll be back at you very, very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.
Play really, really hard and they execute your system, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Trust.
He's pretty
Big trust, baby.
Hey, yes, sir.
Right on cue. Hey, let me.